Hey, this is a podcast edition. You will find a fleet window and a deacon gets shot by something else, wrapped by a bantam. But the most stuff is on voice lines, so you don't need to actually watch the video. You can do if you want, but this is a podcast version. So let me get my recording running. We don't need a screen share, that's enough. Okay. Welcome to How to Rock Standing Fleet and why we need ewar and logi. But first of all, we're going through some smaller mistakes, some helping ideas and stuff, how you do stuff. So usually it's established as you X up in the fleet with your destination, and then you hope for help. The issue is if you're sitting in a retriever in a PvE Ishtar or something, and there's coming like, for example, 3 kikis, your lifetime is quite short. Which means in the moment when you X up, you already probably dead, or in the vice versa going to be dying very fast, which means everybody who is responding and needs to fly to you with 2 jumps will not make it. So usually these people are kind of active but not watching intel, and then they get caught. If you bait tanking or something with an Ishtar or a Procurer, then it works out. You can also like pre-check this, and then everybody is aware that you're sitting 2 jumps out with a bait setup, and you like a PvP magnet. On the other side, if you just want to get help and you're in a shit ship which has no tank and there is a lot of DPS coming on you, you may don't want to X up because doesn't matter. Same goes for if you have something tackled and you want help, then make sure your tackle ship is tanky enough to survive at least for like, what is it, a minute or something. Because people still need to hop into the ship if they're not sitting into it. That's the next part we do. And they need to warp to you. So that all takes time. That means as smaller your ship gets, as less your tank is, as less time you have. And usually if you scram something, the other side can also scram you. And what happens if both of you scrammed each other? That means it's hard tackled. Everything on DPS fully applies because, yeah, you are in brawl range. That means even an any with double weapon scram will fully apply to the smallest frigate, because double web scram means you don't go anywhere. And the worst case is also noids come into the thing. So if you don't have any capacitor left, you're also not scramming back. Means the other side is free to roam. That's not an issue. If we have enough of that stuff, then it works. So we come to the usual stuff of standing fleet. If we have enough people, like let's say there's coming a gang with 3 or 4 people and we have 20 dudes active, then usually it works out, because from these 20 ships we have, there are 5 which doing the right job, and the other 15 actually are extra DPS which whoring on the kill. So it means if you here, for example, it's just we had this example in the fleet, there were like, I think 2 kikis or something. If you warp the battleship to the gate, I'm not sure what you were expecting, but usually if you have a battleship shooting something smaller than a cruiser, that's kind of problematic because your lock time is super long, and also your guns are very oversized to hit. So you, as a battleship, rely on smaller stuff to initiate the hard tackle and everything, webs, blah blah blah. You can cheese that. We have the Typhoon on the Typhoon fleet issue with rapid heavy missiles and target painter and stuff like that, which you can switch around. But then again, rapid heavy missiles, is a battleship gun, but actually it's the size of a cruiser gun because it's shooting heavy missiles. Means you will apply better to small stuff. But if you have, for example, a Rook or a Hyperion with heavy, the big blasters, you start to struggle. This about size of the fleet and blah blah blah. The other thing what we have is what are the people are doing? Is it the kitey gang which is roaming through and want to have kills, like the wormhole guys we have, or is it a gang which is hunting for Ishtars, for example? or is it somebody which wants to rob some ESS? It's like different kinds of setups which they have, and they all need a different kind of engagement. Usually, the issue with kitey gangs is they are super fast. And if you want to get somebody which is super fast, you need small ship. And the moment your small ship is heading to the enemy, you're probably out of range of the big ships because they don't shoot that far, and you are in the range of their smaller ships which trying to destroy the tackle, because that's the only thing on crit which could harm them. A scrammed kitey ship is dead in the water. Means if there is like 2 Atrons and a Jaguar coming, I can tell you for sure that the enemy team is broadcasting these 2 Atrons at first, plopping them away, and the next one is then the Jaguar dying. And even if you have Logi in the backhand, you easily in a Scepter or also in like a frigate, you outrun these Logi ships. Means if you don't have an eye on what's on our side, you just run in your death. So to avoid that, to just chase them, because that is their game. You chase a kitey gang, and kite means they just fly in one direction or somewhere, and they're trying to control or hold their mobile crit. Let's say it's 5 Ortruses, they have a range of 80 kilometers, so everything which comes in this 80 kilometer bubble of them will die. And they will make sure that tackle ships are prioritized or anything other which is like scary to them. Means if we want to fight them, then they usually are on the ESS crit, because then we cannot combat probe them. That's the other point. If they are not on the ESS crit, keep in mind, if your standing fleet doesn't have a combat prober for now or something, then, and you can do that, hop into a combat prober, because then you can land on top of them. You can also do it cloaky and 10 kilometers behind, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. Same with Logi and same with ewar. So, kitey gang from wormholes, usually we don't try to fight them on their terms, means we don't fight them in the ESS. If they go into the ESS, that's a different play. But when they are at the ESS, we don't care. They not harm anybody. They can do their shit in the ESS. We are curious about which wormhole they came from, because then we can sit on the wormhole, establish control on the wormhole, maybe have eyes on the other side, blah, 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 and roll the hole. So they are gone. That's not the perfect way if you want to have an engagement and shoot them. But they will come back to the hole, and if it's bubbled and everything, they may also upship, which brings them back to our game. We can escalate on the hole. We can light a Sino, we can have threats there, we have YOLO threats, blah blah blah, stuff like that. So if they bring their shiny shit, like what we had last time with, what was it, the 10 Iki Turzas and 6 Guardians or something, we can do the same. We just bring also 6 Guardians and some ewar and stuff like that, and then we still have 2 threats on the field, jamming their Guardians and then wrecking through everything. But then they fight on our terms, and they also already swap their doctrine to something brawly instead of like kiting around. If they are going for an ESS thing, so they want to raid an ESS because there are millions inside, you usually have an idea what they have, and they usually do the same thing what they do outside. They do the kite game. So they have 100 MN Loki, stuff like that. So also here, if they're kiting around and you want just to secure the crit or bring them closer to you, it's dams. Super easy. Stuff which kites around is far away. If you damp them, they can't shoot you. But keep in mind, if there's one Maulus on crit, and it's the only Maulus which the standing fleet has, and everything else is DPS and is not reaching out, they will shoot the Maulus and kill it. Biggest threat on the field, delete it, free roam for them. But if you have multiple Maulus, for example, like you make a small squad of Mauluses with 2-3 Logis or something, then you can hold it. So Maulus is a bad example for the ESS because it's too small, can't enter, but you can take an Celestis, for example, and not an Onirus, an Executor, and then you already have with 5 people a very heavy ewar squad which can hold down, let's say, I mean, one Celestis can definitely blind out 2 ships minimum. Maybe more, but I would say on a safe space, 2 ships at least. Usually they also have sensor boosters and something. So if you have three Celestises, this means you have 6 ships blinded out, plus 2 logis, that's 5 ships, and then they will run or they will come closer. And if they come closer, our DPS has the chance to actually apply and have a fight. That also means if you see an enemy comp which has ewar, mirror it. If they have, for whatever reason, ECM or dams or something, just mirror it and bring twice as much. Because you can expect that they will use it, and if you have a Maulus and they have a Karus, they will use the Karus to blind the Maulus, and they still will have probably dams on ejector or something. Like everywhere where I have a free slot and it fits into my playstyle, I will sprinkle some Evo in. There where you put in target painters, more tank or something, they will put a damp, just for safety reason. So we had this. So we do some fun thing. Let me warp my one ship. I hope you're all sitting in some ships. Let me warp that deacon. Why logi? So if you remember at the Alliance tournament, for example, there is a limit of 1 logi cruiser or 2 logi frigates against 10 people. So you have a 10-man comp which is fighting another 10-man comp, and they either have 2 logi frigates or had 1 logi cruiser. And you can imagine 1 logi cruiser is kind of easy to cheese because the only thing that ship has is running around and has a local tank. But if you have 2 logi frigates, for example, that's already hard beefed up shit. So what we do is I warp to my luckily friend and we do some DPS checks. So whatever ship you have, like small stuff, big stuff or something, I have 2 logi frigates. They will orbit each other, and then you are allowed to shoot Kane a little bit, and I will wrap it on the other side. And we don't do tackle, we just do the free roaming. It's the same thing what you do if you fight a kitey gang. If they're roaming around and there's no tackle on them, then you don't apply that good. So give me a second, set that up, and I will just put some letters in the fleet. Okay, I've put some letters in the fleet. You can warp in your legs to Kane, and then you will see that he is, wait, he's not orbiting. Why is he not orbiting? Okay, beside you trying out shooting stuff, we continue a little bit. When you have the X's in system and you want to know who it is and what it is, just ask what is tackling if you don't see it on Intel or something, and then try to get the ship accordingly. So the first thing what we want to have is if they are setting up and warping around, we need some tackle. So check and ask on comms, do we have a bubbler? If there's no response, then we probably don't have a bubbler, which means that's the initial first thing what we need is a bubbler. This gives our big stuff a little bit time to tackle, because in the bubble you can't warp, means the big fat cruiser, for example, which has a lock time on frigates or this Desis is like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, depending on the fit, takes some time. With the bubble, can't warp immediately, so you have your 3-4 seconds to do that. If you're coming to the gate crashing game, you want to have fast insta-locking webs. Means we establish grid control on the gate with a bubbler, with an hyena, or some, like an Atron with a sensor booster also works, and a web. And then once the stuff decloaks, you immediately start to tackle and wrap it so it can't crash the gate. And in the meantime, the bigger stuff has the ability to actually lock that stuff down and shoot it. And as more webs we apply on it, as better it is, so it can't crash. That's the instalock stuff. I think some people are flying also instalocking sweep pools with arties and stuff like that. That also works. Usually, if you have something like this, like it's a gate, it's, let's say you bubble the ESS or something, or a wormhole, it makes sense to have something like this. So this is again the next question: is it? So what do you need? Do you have a tackle? Do we need an Atron? Do we need a Daredevil or something like that to hold the crit? Let me check who is there. Yeah, the Caracal, for example. Like here, the Caracal and the Condor start shooting Kane. Wait, I broadcast myself. Then a free fire on this Deacon, and I will tell you that the Condor and the Caracal is not enough to kill a Deacon. For 100% sure. So that means in this moment, like this setup already is like capable of tanking this kind of DPS we have on crit, and you actually want to have like more. So if you want to bring Logi, it's the same question in standing fleet: is somebody flying Logi? Do we do, for example, say it, is it more shield or more armor? Just depends, and then you call it. If you want to fly Logi and you want to fly armor, then you tell you fly armor. So then everybody knows I should bring an armor ship, but you can also say I fly shield. And if somebody else want to do something different, then they are on their own. You told that you doing a 2 squad or you bring armor Logi and you want to have a buddy. And I see right now, who is it? The Bantam as a T1 frigate. That's already enough to withstand the Caracal and the Condor. Does the Condor has a web or a scram? Yeah, like you need a web because it's in 1MN Deacon. You can apply it on it so you get a little bit more application. So if you see that a point is not enough, that doesn't bring anything, but you prevent me to warping away, that's good. No worries. But I put out my AB to make it a little bit easier. So that means already if you get now the feeling that you're expecting that the Caracal and the Condor actually like should have some kind of damage on a Deacon and should nail it, then you're wrong. Like 2 Deacons is already a very strong setup to withstand. Some days ago we fighting what was 4 Vexors or 5 Vexors in ESS gang, and we had 2 Kirans. And we could hold each other Kirin just easy against the Vexors. The issue was that some lighter targets, for example a Flycatcher, which is a little bit different tanked, we were not able to hold it because their application was too good. Like if you wrap it down and you have a scram on it and everything, then they apply better, and then we are limited on our reps. But again, we won that fight, and I think we only lost like 1 ship or 2 ships, and we were just a small frigate gang, like with 2 desis inside. So they thought they could super easily kill us, but then again, we had 2 Logis, they couldn't. Means if you want to hold the crit, where you go somewhere, like let's say they're in the ESS and you said, okay, we go together in the ESS. It's a lot about communication. You still need to talk and you need to coordinate a little bit. It's all the stuff you do in strat ops and skirmish pings and everything what's there. When the FC says we warp to something, you also need to do that in standing somewhat, which means you need to ask who is on the crit, then you pass on. Somebody usually takes the lead a little bit, like a kind of a lead, to coordinate that you go together in. Then you sit on that crit with Logi, and then you can also say like, okay, hey, I have 2 Logis, we have a Jaguar, we have some tackle, we can move as a plop into their spot and force them off, like let them warp somewhere else. and then you establish a new grid control or have a bubble somewhere up. That's just the thing what is going ahead. Like if you want to be with the group, you sit with the group. There will be somebody else you can dictate and says, hey, they probably aligning to 3L3. So we should have a bubbler from 3L3 gate to the ESS, bubbling 100. So if they warp off and not scouting, then we can catch them in a bubble. Means if they warp and don't have a save, you just warp directly after them and then you get them kind of tackled. Same direction goes if you have a fight and you see that they cannot hold the grid on the gate and they tending to align to the ESS. So it's a smart move to have a bubbler on the ESS. Consider this ship to be dead, because if they land in the bubble, they will immediately target you. But usually that time is enough to get the other people in. The biggest point is that you communicate and says what you're doing and also ask what is needed. Just not jump into a battleship and be like, oh, it's an ESS fight and I need a big ship. I see that the Bantam is doing the hell of a job by just wrapping me up and easy. So we have a Blackbird here, yeah, the Caracal. Yeah, the Bantam is enough. So you communicate, you say what you want to have, and usually you can, if you talk to each other and says I bring shield logi or armor logi, and then there's another buddy, always ask to get the buddy. Then you already have like a very nice, awesome squad which can deal with a lot, and from there you just add up with another ewar ships and stuff on top of that. Because you're already like a very competitive group. Like Logi keeps the other stuff alive. The ewar stuff prevent that anything can shoot you or like hardly shoot you. So you have your small invincible bubble which protects you against all the damage. And from there we can add up with other ships which either like a little bit more expensive, more fragile or something, and therefore we force them to something. What else did I wrote? Our terms, kite, Coromor group. No, we don't need this. We had that with the X's. We can slowly go over. Do you have questions? And then I think about what else comes in my mind. Okay. What's also good is it doesn't mean to bring plingy ships. Plingy ships, they help you to fly better, and they have their advantages. Like they go super fast, they're super tanky, marauders, blah blah blah, you name it. But you don't need that. For example, if there's a kitey gang which is kiting around and going into one direction, and you want to have fun and fly DPS, for example, just get a Cormorant, Raygun Cormorant that shoots 100 kilometers. It's a Desi, so it does nasty DPS. And here comes the best part. It applies perfectly to small stuff. So if they have, what's that, Mortus, Carus, Malediction, Interceptor, stuff like that, and you bring with 2 friends or like 5 friends in Cormorant gang, and you're lucky to also get like somebody which says, hey, I can boost you around with my here my command Desi, then you're already like a small super heavy kill squad. If you then also able to add 2 logis to that, like T1, the Bantam for example, that means that you're not unkillable, that's for sure, because you're too small. But you're already nasty enough that they have an eye on you and they will try to focus you down, which gives the other players around, which may want to bring a battleship or something, the option that the other side makes mistakes. Consider that all the T1 ships are super awesome. They all work. Same goes for the T2 frigates and something, but if you go into the 200 mil direction, like let's say you want to fly a Vagabond or something, then the exception, like, only because you can buy a Porsche doesn't mean you can drive a racing car. And this also doesn't mean that you can drive the racing car on the track. It says that you can have a fancy ship and fly it, but you don't over exceed in the performance. Doesn't mean if you can do that, you can do your own stuff on the grid and fly around and help. But if you think about that, this is an expensive ship, and if you die, you just need to buy a new one. You could also have like handing out a logi ship to somebody else and says, hey, let's fly together logi or ewar ring or something like that, and then have some fun. It's probably more efficient than having a solo ego ship or something and says, I'm sitting here with my marauder, because then happens again. If you sit there with a marauder and your friends dying left side, right side, what do you think happens if everybody is dead and you are the last marauder and there's like 2 carisses? Yeah, your marauder is damped down and is only shooting like 40 kilometers, worst case like 20 or something, which means then all your 3000 DPS you have on the chip, they don't work because you can't lock. And then if you, for example, like, let's say you have an ancillary tank or something, then once you're out of cap boosters, you die. And to save this ship again, you're coming back to the old school stuff. You start establishing control on that grid. And how do you establish control? You warp logi and ewar, not DPS. Like, yes, you can also just drop 5 marauders and it has the same effect that you will probably win the fight. But if you first bring logi in a certain amount which they cannot break you, so if they have 10 ships and I tell you 10 ships and you bring 5 logis, they're unable to break you. There is no way they break you. Imagine back in Stratops and other fleets what we have, how many logi we had there. Like from 5 basilisks to, like, let's say in the best times we had in a 100-man fleet, we'd flying with like 15 basilisk or something. So this is just a friction of that what we face in standing fleet. And if standing fleet is going to bring 5 T1 logi cruiser, for example, just for the fun, you can start with 2, then it's already a huge step. And then if you look at the enemy comp, which has 1 single basilisk, for example, then you're already out-repping what they have. And this means you can keep everything alive. If somebody is ramming them in the head and is going like 80 kilometers off you, you still can call out that, hey, my logi range is 70, I cannot rep you. If you no go there, you will be on your own. Like, especially if it's on the ESS grid. Some people still need to be reminded that you cannot warp on the ESS to people, and then you can manage that they come back, turn around, get their reps, and then you can move as a unit in again. Does this make some sense? You're so silent. Yeah, I think the biggest part is what I want to point out is like, keep talking, nobody explodes. And then beside having the fact that we have a lack of logi because you don't get on kill mails, shame on CCP, they promised that and we still want that. A huge part is flying either ewar or logi, and then you make the other side hell. And then they don't want to come to us, because if they come to us and they have like nice kills, like they're killing a battleship. I think yesterday it was with the 40-man Fun Inc. fleet with interceptors, which we warp battleships in. I mean, you can definitely kill them, but then you need to talk to each other and be like, hey, do we want to bring 3 praxises with smart bombs? And can we get them to sit somewhere which we can have them warp into us and then we just smart bomb them away? Or if they intercept and you know that they are blaster, for example, if you warp 2 Megatrons there, like, and they come and surrounding you, and then you all activate your smart bombs, you may die, But you also will probably get some of them just dying. And in the meantime, if you say, hey, we want to do this with the smart bombs, and you have another 5, 6 people going into cormorants, for example, sitting at 100 and start sniping them, they still want to shoot the battleships, and they probably with 40 men they're gonna kill it. But with the smart bombs running, they cannot be on optimal. So you remember the Atron or the Condor, for example. That's like, what is it, 1,000 meters? Maybe 5k or something if they go into like long range ammunition. But usually they don't be in harpies with railguns which can shoot 100. So they are in their Prawl configuration, they're doing the Adron DPS with 200, or the Tyrannus which does 300 with blasters, which is amazing DPS, but you need to sit on top of your target. And if you then have the chance to sit in something Cormorant, for example, not the Naga. Naga is also fine for sniping, but this, if you have a Naga at 100 and you're trying to shoot a frigate, that doesn't work. Because Naga is again very big guns. Cormorant is small railguns, you name it, small matches small. Eve is, this is what I usually say is, if you shoot with an atomic bomb in Eve at something and it's small, it will not get any damage. In real life, it's dead. In this game, as bigger the gun is and as smaller the target is, as less damage it gets. Except you have everything on ewar on it, what you have, like target painter, webs, it's standing still, it can't move, the resistance are low because you tried the cap and everything, then you can apply. But it's also, so if you know what they bring and you see that they have a lot of cruisers and something, consider stepping down from the battleship and then get something which is more appreciated, which applies better. As dumb it sounds, what's that? Paracal with rapid lights. It doesn't shoot far because we nerfed it a little bit, but if you get close, or if something gets close into the range, you apply kind of DPS, but then again, only because it's rapid lights, and if it's untackled, untarget painted, unwebbed, you don't do much. You always need that kind of like the tackle squad, which gets on top of stuff and tackles it down. Which therefore you need again like your logi cruiser sitting somewhere and giving the 80 kilometers range to have this kind of engagement idea. Think about in like circles or bubbles around you, from the logi perspective, from the tackle perspective, from the enemy perspective, and everywhere which the circles overlap, that's the point where we have our engagement areas which we can do something. If they move out of this engagement area, fine. Then they don't want to fight. But we are also not losing something. Usually the kiting gangs, they come for kills. And they will try to sneak around to get something. Like if you sit there with your 5-man Cormorant squad, they maybe try to push on top of you. Then just move out. Warp away. You're smaller than them, and you also see them cycling. Yeah, I'm thinking about. I think I have pointed it out very well that if you bring a small amount of logi and you mirror their comp, so if they have 1 logi, you bring 2 logi, then you're already better than them. And then the only thing you need to think about is the engagement range. So like 100 kilometers or something for the DPS, and then you kind of fine with the setup idea. We have this, we have this, we have the ewar, we have ECM. What else is nasty, what I don't want to see in these fleets? I think that's the main point. keep talking, ask what is needed, then check what the engagement is, what you want to do. Usually you figure the engagement out on the way. Like if it's Tuskers, you know that they come from a wormhole, and then you figure out of the way where their wormhole is. Usually that takes some engagements, but they will chill somewhere around, and then you see that people coming from like DT, and then you know, okay, the wormhole needs to be in the direction of DT, somewhere behind that pocket. And then you can move into this direction easy peasy. If it's a roaming gang and they are for kills, they will leave. So you want to hold them. But the issue is you can't hold something if they can go everywhere. So you can try to lock them down in a pocket or something, and then you go again for the mobile gate camp. I usually talk this. Standing fleet is doing the mobile gate camp tactic, since we don't do the kiting game. That depends on the ships we use, and we fly around. So if you think about kiting, I think about ships which go over 3k. Everything below is not kiting, it's something else. Because 3k above with heating is like 5k, then you come into the direction of like outrunning an interceptor, kind of. Not really, but you can outrun him. And if you think about 100 kilometer, somebody need to go from 0 to 100 kilometers with like 5k. That's 20 seconds. And 20 seconds is a very long time. And then if you add that from this distance, they going 3k, you going 5k, so you're actually chasing them with 2k per meter, also 2000 meters per second, then it's not 20 seconds, it's even longer. So that's why we usually don't do the kiting stuff. What we can do is, but that's again, if you're sitting in the standing fleet and you came up with an idea what you want to do, you usually come up with this idea before the engagement. So if you're thinking about the chain bushing somebody or a group, so with like 2 bushers, you can bush 25 people into one direction, 100 kilometers, 2 bushers is 200 kilometers, then you already get an idea of what you want to do. And if you have 2 friends which says, hey, I have this idea, I can bush you, then you coordinate that in the fleet and says, hey, group up on Kane, be within 6,000 kilometers, just keep at range, I will bring us as close as possible, and then you can do your DPS tackle logi stuff, and then everybody on me. Same with like if you have a carrier, it can also like do this jumping for 250 kilometers. But if you came up with the idea in the fight, that's probably too late to establish that. So you need to have that idea beforehand. So means you have some logi ships with you in the station for the fun. You have some ewar ships in the station for the fun. You have some dams. If you want to respawn to X's, for example, if somebody is tackled, you just take a griffin, because jams is the key. And then you're talking about like, okay, you are tackled. By what you're tackled? Malediction. And a 10-man fleet is 3 jumps out or something. Usually they're a little bit faster, but let's say they're 3 jumps out. Then you hop in your griffin. Doesn't matter what you do. You know, there's 1 malediction. I have my griffin. You tell the guy, either, I hope he's on comms, that makes stuff super easy. You tell him, I'm coming with a griffin. I will jam him. And then you call out the jam. And hopefully the guy is not brain dead and is aligning somewhere. Then you call out the jam. He sees that the point is dropping. And in the moment the point is dropping, you press warp. And then you saved him. Doesn't cost much. You can throw 20 griffins on the target if you want to. And you can save him. Same works for an orca and something. But if you get the awareness that they have a flycatcher, a dictor, and a bubble, don't bother with a griffin. Then think about either like that you some DPS again, but you can also be like, that's what I said in the beginning, there's coming a 10-man Kiki fleet. They have tackled an orca in a bubble. Why should I not just have 5 logis warping on the orca and then keep everybody alive and then be chewing through the Kikis? Because the Kikis, they maybe have 2 Kirans with them, but you already have 5 deacons. Or let's say you just don't have a T2, you go for a T1. I mean, the chips are super cheap with 20 mil, and they are covered in the home defense SRP. And if we see intent that people will bring more logi into standing fleet and something, I will do my best to get you in 100% SRP level, because I think that the idea of having logi on these fights and encourage you and everybody to fly a logi ship and then ewar and then DPS, or first ewar then logi then DPS, that's fine, because the DPS people, they get the kill mail. I'm fine with that. It's a very major ego thing in this game with the kill mails, and I honor that. That's Eve. It's awesome to have them. I don't want to take you that away from you, but the real heroes in the backline, which keeps DPS alive and makes the life horrible for the enemy, that is Logi and ewar. And as in the IT, as long stuff works, nobody complains about it. But once stuff breaks, everybody is about, well, fuck, shit, IT doesn't work, well, this sysadmin is shit. And it's the same with the Logi. Like, you don't see them, you don't feel them, but once shit hits the fan and your tank is breaking and you have then Logi on field, which wraps you up, you are happy to have them. And you're super glad to have them. And maybe this plants the small seed in the DPS pilot, which is sitting in a Megatron, trying to shoot like 100 kilometers of ray guns or something, that he should consider the next time to like not sitting in a Megatron, just sitting in a nice Logi ship and be that part. Because I'm super sure that if we have more ewar logi on the field, people are also eager to bring nicer ships, which does the job better. Like the... Don't point me out, there are two ships, but I think it's the Daredevil from the Serpentis. I hope so it is, with the 90% web. That ship this frigate costs 180 mil, I think, currently in Jita, but it's the one which has the 90% web. If you have one of these in a gate camp with a kind of insta-locking setup, nobody's crashing the gate. I tell you, nobody. That's impossible. Like, if you get web down 90% and you go 2k, that's 200 meters in a second, and you need to crash 12 kilometers, it's gonna die. But in order to bring a 180 mil frigate, I want to have some deacons in my backhand, because what do you think is the primary target on the field if there is a pirate faction frigate? It's the pirate faction frigate. If I see a Gamor, I will kill the Gamor. If I'm in the ESS with, let's say, 5 Thoraxes and I do an ESS raid, and you warp a Cinnabel in, and I'm shooting, for example, something else, I will stop shooting the battle cruisers. I will tell you, we shoot the Cinnabel, because this ship is 200 mil. If you blink fit it, it's a little bit more, and there is no way you out tank 5 Thoraxes with a Cinnabel. So there will always be on the other side from the guys the target calling about what's the most value ship. Like, they first will think about what's the critical ship which harms me right now. So this is, for example, Tackle, which comes close, Nasty ewar, which is damping me. That's the stuff they call out. And then they call out DPS after all the other stuff. And you see that always. If you start flying the ewar stuff and something, you will be mostly, like, you will be targeted. The same for the tackle. For whatever reason, you always be the target, and you will get some pot shots and people will shoot you. Because they like it. They're like, oh yeah, this one is critical ship, I kill this first. This Jaguar is coming close, I kill that first, after that. And then they are also talking about, okay, what's happening right now? Like, if you're sitting in a Naga and you're shooting the Basilisk, I can tell you that the enemy team in comms, the Basilisk pilot, will says, my biggest DPS threat right now is the Naga. Kane Carnifex in the Naga is my biggest threat. Can we get rid of him? And then everybody on their DPS side, like the 5-6 pilots they have, they will try to get the Naga off. Like, they will try to kill me or force me to warp off. So they have again their safe crit. And if we get the same idea into the standing fleet with the mobile gate camping, for example, like, you can move your mobile gate camp everywhere, like on wormholes, on a gate camp, in the ESS, on a target which is tackled, you can make this crit your mobile gate camp. Like everything around 80 kilometers is now a safe zone. By logi, by ewar, and by my DPS application. Like, they don't come in because they like, if I touch this death circle, we die. And then they need to pull off. In the moment they try to pull off, like, this stuff is tackled, bait tank or whatever, and you get one of their ships, and then everybody else comes on top and you establish the death circle, and you get scrams on other stuff which you can keep alive, you shred them, because they will try to run. It's a little bit different if you have a brawl setup, but I'm sure we don't need to talk about brawl setup, because that means like you X up, they are on top of you, you are on top of them, and then it's a DPS race. Like, you can still have your logis a little bit outside because it's a brawl, but I'm assuming you get that idea where you need to be positioned a little bit. So to apply ewar and logi, you don't need to be on top of something, you can be out of the range. You can let the big stuff brawl it out and then sit on the side, do your ewar stuff and chuckle around that you jammed this ship and you jammed this ship, and be super happy about it and have the hell of your time. Because for me, if I sitting in a jamming ship and I jamming in 500 400 mil Guardian, which has the mid slot for a sensor booster, so they can have ECCM, and you can also have implants in your head which boost your sensor strength. But again, ECCM is about RNG and a little bit of gamble, and if you have enough ewar and you jam out the Guardians, they need to adjust their cap chain. And if you ever fly logi in a battle and your Ikiturza guy, which is also another 1 billion ship, is crying for help, and you cannot wrap him because you need to readjust your cap chain because people are dropping in and out from the jamming and stuff like that, you break their comfort zone. They actually need to do something to keep stuff alive, and then they start doing mistakes. And if they start doing mistakes and you call that out, that like half of the Guardian wing is jammed out, then the target caller, which usually you have somebody in the standing fleet is doing the target calling, you can also try to challenge this a little bit depending on your knowledge. But usually the veterans, they have a feeling on what they can break and what not. It's a little bit more complicated with the standing kitchen fleet idea because I can't see what you have fitted on your battleship. I don't know it. Like, I also don't know if you are super awesome trans match guy, which is like flying a Typhoon fleet issue with arties, and it's like, I have my transversal in it, and I see, oh wait, this basilisk is right now with me on 0 transversal, so I can actually like hit it very hard. I don't know that. The only thing I see is I call this target and I see damage on it, and then I can assume that from my 10 people on crit, that's not enough damage which applies. Which comes back to the point about ships which are unscrammed, unwebbed, no target painter on it, they are harder to hit. In the bigger fleets, that works out because you have like 50 moonins or something, and then they all do a friction of some DPS and then it dies. But in the small scale stuff, in the standing size what we have, it's about thinking about like, is it in my engagement range? Is this the long range DPS, the short range DPS? Do I get tackle on it? Which comes back to the idea of you building up a death circle, the mobile gate camp, which moves around, and from there it works. Okay, so do you now have questions? Do we need an in-game channel or something which has a common idea of which kind of ships people should bring for standing? I mean, at least we cover some of the T1 frigates, T1 desis, and then we go up to T1 cruisers, and we're giving an idea, like we write a small cheat sheet about, hey, that's the optimal engagement range. range. That's the price tag. And if you want to step up with the game, then this is the next level you can have. And then people can look into this and like, oh, today I want to fly an arty stabber, for example. Like it's not a good example, but then they have a wider option. Like I think right now through to Connors to Arthur, for example, he is flying the Typhoon Fleet issue a lot. People try to copy that with the Typhoon, which does a very good job. But if everybody brings a Typhoon, then yeah, we kind of little bit limited what we want to have. I mean, 20 Typhoons is awesome. That's also nasty. But you can archive the same with like less. Okay, let me write that down that we want to have like an in-game channel with some information or something like that. Okay. And I think I will write down an I think a very short DIN A4 or something, which gives the idea of what to do and what not. Like if somebody X's up in the fleet and you don't have an idea what kind of engagement this is, ask them what is on grid, what is tackling you. Asking on comms what was the last intel around it. Like you don't want to bring like if it's T1 stuff, just drop it because it's SRP'd and it's fine. It doesn't matter. You learn from it. But if you bring your fancy marauder into something, and then you see that oh no, it's actually Tuskers coming, and he's tackled by Tuskers, then you can be sure they will also engage the marauder, and they will bring stuff to kill the marauder. So if you see the X's and stuff like that, yeah, just like the guideline stuff to bring. I should also write that down. I mean, yeah. In the meantime, I see my Deacon still didn't die because the Bantam does a super great job and just out-tanked the Condor and the Caracal. So happens. But yeah. I mean, you don't do anything wrong with a Condor or a Caracal. It's awesome ships and they do their job. They have their role. The Caracal has some identity issues because it doesn't know what it wants to be. Like it want to be kitey because it's shield, but then it's actually super slow. It want to be super nice DPS, but actually it is kind of weird DPS because missile. I love missiles, but missiles are very strange. Yeah. So next time you come in standing and you experience that there's a kiting gang and you see people doing very weird stuff, call it out. Ask, is there logi? If there's no logi, then says, okay, do we want to have armor or shield? Usually the meta currently is that armor is better because of the reactive and the resistance profiles and everything, so they are stronger. And with the recent buff, you can also kind of kite with them, which comes again to the point if you want to kite, it goes over 3k, and 3k ships are kind of weird fittings. They don't look right, but they do the job. If you want to have your small special group in standing, like I'm 100% sure there are people which sitting in standing and are here for PvP only, or have an alt running which is doing some PvE or mining, and the main is sitting to do some PvP. Group up with somebody. Ask them, hey, do we want to be Logi buddy, ewar buddy, DPS buddy? You can also think about that if you want to have like Vexors, for example. Put a cap injector in the mids and put remote reps on the top. Like that's what the Tuclavian ships do. If you see like 5 Vetmax swapping around, don't underestimate that they have no logi. They could have remote reps in the highs, and at something, it's not like what logi does, but again, if you bring no logi and they have some kind of logi, the some kind of logi will win. Like, oh, except you blob them. Like if there are 5 people and you bring 20, then you should kind of win from the DPS wise. You should break them. But yeah, ask around. Is there logi? What are we doing? Do we need an interdictor or something? You can also be more positioned and says, can I do we need ewar? Can I bring ewar? Do we need logi? If you can't fly in dictor, don't ask if they need a dictor, because you you would answer with, okay, yeah, okay, we need, yeah, I can't fly it, but good. Stuff like that. So yeah, that's actually the magic. So it's in the end, it's standing small gang is, there are no holding hands anymore. Like what you have in skirmish and in stratops, when the FC says, "Hey, this ship you're sitting in is not the doctrine." This holding hand is not in standing. Nobody is holding you back, bringing whatever you want, and there is also no wrong ship you can bring. But if you want to succeed in standing and having a very nice time, then you always fall back to asking the questions: what we fighting, where we fighting, what do we need, do we already have logi, do we have ewar, and ewar and logi goes hand in hand. And be sure, if there is one thing we never lack of, then it's DPS. Like, that's the thing which is always there. People will always have enough DPS. They will complain that they died. They will also, you hear that sometimes in standing that people says, I need reps. And then there's silence. So there are people with the background which expecting to have logi in the standing fleet, and then there is none, and then they get upset because their ship died. And for everybody of us, ships have different values. For somebody, the Condor is the one ship they have, and it's huge investment. For the next one, it's a Desi. The other just acquired a Jactor or something, which is already like 100 mil, and you like, yeah, let's fly. I got two of them, and I want to fly around because I like the Jactor. And then imagine you have three Jactors and two Bantams. These jackdaws go into defense mode with the bantams. If shit hits the fan, you lose two bantams, but then you can say, okay, I lost right now all my logi, so two bantams wasn't enough, and we killed two of them, and they still have 10 left or something. That means if you can, you call out that logi is not holding, logi is down, and we should reset. Or that depends on how many people you have in standing fleet and active, you bring new logi in. Or beefier logi, depends on. But that's again like the talking part, and the always like checking around what's happening. Is it enough? Do I need different stuff? And then keep in mind, that's my last words. If the gun has the tag large and you want to shoot something small, consider at least be one step ahead. So with medium guns, shooting on small stuff, that's okay-ish, but you still need to consider that you need to do something. It's not just like press the F1 button, cycle the gun, and then it works out. You need to help it a little bit. So if you have a Cinnabar with 425mm guns, for example, and there's an interceptor coming to you and it's orbiting you at 10k, you're not hitting, because the Cinnabar has a bonus on range and DPS, not tracking. So what you need to do is you need to bring the Cinnabar in a position that it is kiting away, and the interceptor needs to follow a little bit so you get the transversal down. And in this case, if an interceptor or a frigate is chasing you in a Cinnabar, finally your 425mm autocannons are now hitting perfectly, because Hail has a range of 26 kilometers or something and fall off. And if the ship is then like from this 10-kilometer orbit in like 15 kilometers, oh, I need to catch up this Cinnabar, then you're shredding. But that's the little bit thing you need to do to touch them. And then consider again that not everybody which comes in our space is a beginner. Many of them are experienced pilots, and if you try to trick them into this idea, it's complicated. I'm missing. Oh, who was this guy in Delph which was always flying with the treasure? I forget his name. Ah, oh god, he was so cool. There was one guy in dev, he was flying a T1 Treasure with arties and an MVD and stuff like that, and he was always luring Interceptor and Frigate people into attacking him because, hey, it's just a T1 Desi. And then he starts kiting them a little bit, and with like 2 or 3 volleys of the arty Treasure, he killed a lot of small stuff. And this was his game. Like, he improved his transversal matching, his kiting game and everything, deleting small stuff which wanted to tackle him. Like, even if you start probing him down or something, it was complicated. And then if somebody from the veterans stepped up, it's like with combat probing or like here this cloak tango or stuff like that, then we actually caught him. Because there's the point of where if you have a certain skill level or you can something do good, and the other side is chasing the Atron, for example, and then you appear in his back with the Tengu and you get actually a scram on him, then he is dead in the water. But that's like, if there's 5 things happening on my screen, I will start doing mistakes. Like, doesn't matter how good I am, if there's too much stuff happening on my screen and I need to consider too much stuff, then I start doing mistakes and then it happens. So as cooler and slower it is on our side, and as more horrible we can do it on the other side, as better it is. So now we're good. Like, we have like 1 hour talking time. That's ridiculous. Any last questions? Awesome. Okay. Then spread the spirit. Ask the question in the fleet. Is there logi? Is there ewar? Do we need a tackle? Do we need a flycatcher? Stuff like that. If people are on the gate and they're crashing or jumping through and they're warping off, then you know that there is missing tackle. We need more tackle. If there's coming more than 2 people or something, then sprinkle some logi in it and you're fine. And if it's like, you can do your fun stuff with all your ships, and if you lose your caracal, for example, and the engagement is ongoing, then consider about, okay, I don't need to bring the next caracal. The issue was that they have a Maulus, so I slap on my Maulus a sensor booster and 2 dams, and my new mission is to just damp down the Karus or Maulus on the other side. And then I try to call out that like, they will try to shoot you. I'm 100% sure. So call that, tell them I have damped the Maulus, which means then some of the battleships will says, hey, I'm not damped anymore, I can now apply DPS. And then from there, the run balls down and we probably can kill them. I mean, it's a long way, but we will improve. We have the home defense SRP, so we have plenty of idea to try out stuff. And as nastier we get, as less they come to our place. Or the other side is, as nastier we get, they need to step up their game so their ships get more shiny, which means we get more shiny loot, which is also fine. Always consider, if 1 more people come over, they have shit ton of money, they don't know what to do with that. They look shiny, and we want that shiny loot. And they are also a little bit eager if you kill them. They don't like that. They also don't like it if you kill them in T1 stuff. Like, they actually don't like that. They really hate that. And I was always thinking about that plopsing people is unfair. And I'm coming to the point which I'm like, no, it's not unfair. I mean, you have 5 bill of ships. If I bring 100 people in Cormorants, I'm still under 5 bill, so we're even. You have 5 bill ship. I have 100 Cormorants, which is like, what is it, 1 billion? I mean, I have 30,000 DPS. You just have 5 or something. But calling that plopsing? No. It's T1 Desi Cormorant stuff or Atrons. That's like, if you can't handle that, I'm sorry, then you need more friends. Okay, that's my dojo class. I will write that down, make a summarize and everything, so if other people come and want to learn about standing fleet and how we can improve our brave standing fleet, then we can pinpoint, direct them to this idea, and we do that. So let's hop down in standing, see what they're doing, and if you want to have some logi ships, we can make a short call in the fleet chat, and then I will hop on with you and fly some logi or ewar. Agno Angel, anything about ewar? Oh god, he slept. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Okay, thank you very much. See you next time.